Hello everyone, so you have some satellite imagery here of St. Petersburg after Ukraine provided the entertainment for the opening day of the Economic Forum there. And we're going to start with the biggest cheese, the Steregushchy-class Corvette, the Boikiy, which is hit whilst in dry dock. These images here show that the firefighting is still taking place. Multiple emergency crews are on the scene using high pressure hoses to combat the blaze, so it must have been a pretty big one. There's also a lot of smoke around. I guess some of it could be spray from firefighting, but a lot of it does look to be actual smoke, so the husk of this is still smouldering. Here it is zoomed in and rotated. So you can see the strike hit the superstructure, and you can see that there are 7 hose streams fighting the blaze. It's hard to tell the exact damage with a satellite image like this one, but the fire is certainly big. I'm confident in thinking that the superstructure at least has burnt out. Not just the outside, but the inside, because you can see the hoses are aimed at the sides rather than at the top, which does suggest to me that the fire is all the way inside it, not just on the roof and surface on fire. So whilst this might not be fully destroyed, it's certainly going to be out of action for a while, if indeed Russia can even repair it. Because if we check this blueprint here, which I found online of this Corvette, you can see the bit burning is where all the key bits and bobs are, which have all gone for a Burton. The drone hit the superstructure, and located here are, well, let's go through them. Number 8, the TK-25 electronic warfare system. Number 9, the MR2312 navigation radar. 10, the MTK-201 detection and tracking system. 11, the FERC-2 3D multifunctional radar. 12, the Monument A air and surface search radar. 13, the 5010-02 Puma gun fire control system. 14, the ISP520M1 optronic system. 15, the MR2311 navigation radar. So that's some very expensive and difficult to replace gear here. The satellite imagery shows that this took a direct hit in this area and the radome is completely gone. And since the fire looks to have spread throughout the superstructure, then it's possible that not only the surface elements, but also all the interior control systems for them, like the cables and the processors and the power plants and the operating computers and the like, are all badly damaged too, if not completely destroyed. This is going to be a expensive fix, and it gets even better. There also looks to be fire damage at the rear, just behind the superstructure. The fire here is extinguished, and it looks like it might be more surface damage rather than the interior, but we can't tell for certain. But I'd say this is damaged too. It looks quite blackened. And that's good, because this is also a key part of the ship. Let's check our little graphic again. So in this area we have the Car 52 hangar at number 3. Number 4, the 324mm launchers for anti-torpedo weapons. 5, the Anapa M anti-saboteur dipping sonar. 6, the 30mm AK-630M closing weapon system. And number 7, the quadruple launchers for KH-35 3M24 Uran anti-ship missiles. As the ship was here for maintenance already and had been here for February, these would have been empty, as well as the torpedo weapon tubes. Now, as mentioned, we can't really tell the extent of the damage to this area. I think less damage than the superstructure. But as we saw, there are some key elements here, such as the sonar systems and the closing weapon system here, plus a tall black mass you can see which is connected to the navigation radar by a cable. So, the damage to this Corvette is very extensive. Even if the hull isn't breached, that's a lot of damage here. And as we saw earlier, it's possible the fire may have spread inside as well. Given the damage, it may not actually be possible for Russia to fix this. These are some expensive and very costly components, and Russia is crippled by sanctions and restrictions at the moment, not to mention the economy going in the swanning. So repair may not be possible, but if so, it's certainly going to take a long time. This isn't minor damage. So let's move on to the oil depot. This isn't quite as impressive physically, but I find that not as important. So the oil depot itself, here's the before giving a nice detailed look at it. Not the biggest oil loading terminal, but still an important one. Consists of 36 oil tanks of various sizes, and we saw this get hit at least 4 times. The damage here isn't as extensive as we might have hoped. One oil tank completely destroyed, one still burning. These are highlighted in red. I was hoping that the whole lot would have gone. In yellow, But oil tanks here have been hit and do have holes in them, but I assume were empty at the time, unfortunately. You can see that they did take direct hits at the top, but they aren't burnt out, so must have been empty. Russia had a lucky escape there. In blue, a drone that missed, presumably aiming at the other oil tank nearby and instead hit a blue-roofed warehouse. Now, despite the oil tanks being empty, this actually may be a positive sign, because this is a oil export terminal, which loads up tankers to sell Russian oil. And the fact that the oil tanks were bone dry does suggest to me that there is a big shortage of oil at the moment because of the refineries getting hit. So the shortage must be quite bad if the tanks at the export terminal are dry. But not as damaging as we hoped for. But I think that's secondary intention here, after embarrassing Russia. Remember, this strike took place on the opening day of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. Visitors and delegates from around the world were in attendance, including the creme de la creme of Western society, Andrew Tate, Scott Ritter. I bet his appearance scared the local children, and representing Mensa, Candace Owens. I believe Steven Seagal was also there. He never passes up a free buffet. So this strike was pretty much to humiliate Russia globally. All those attending would have seen the drones and heard the drones and seen the fires burning. And this is Russia's second city, remember, which you would expect to be a well-protected fortress. Yet Ukraine managed to smash it, publicly and in front of Russia's allies and Russian shills. It's the equivalent of Zelensky walking up to Putin in the middle of a pub and giving him a slap round the face. So whilst the damage to the oil terminal isn't as much as we hoped, this is a huge blow against Russia's global reputation. And let us not forget the Corvette. That one was an excellent strike. That's going to be out of action for a while. Now, I also found this graphic shared online, a checklist of the Russian ships hit so far, and I thought I'd take a look at it. This includes ones hit and damaged, not just destroyed. Some are listed as just damaged, when really they should be put as destroyed. This is mainly the Black Sea Fleet, but others from other fleets are also added if they've been hit. So let's take a look at it. So we have the Moskva destroyed. The Essen hit 3 times in 2026, but from what I can tell, the damage wasn't critical here. The Makarov, damaged in 2022, reported by a Neptune missile, and was repaired. Our old friend the Boikiy is here, damaged extensively as we just saw. The Saratov, which is completely destroyed. The Nikolai Filchenkov hit twice in 2026 by UAVs, extent of the damage unknown. The Minsk, shown as damage here, but this is a goner. This is just a floating husk now, with the superstructure completely gone, and seemingly no plan to repair it or no effort made to repair it. This was finished. The Gornyak, holed by a marine drone in 2023, back in service. The Caesar Konikov, sunk by marine drones. The Novichokazk, destroyed completely by Storm Shadow. The Yamal, hit by Storm Shadow in 2024 but not sunk, but it hasn't left Sevastopol since, so the damage is extensive and hasn't been repaired. So for all intents and purposes, this is out of service. Also hit further by drones twice in 2026. For Arzov, again, damaged badly by Storm Shadow in the same attack on the Yamal, and again, hasn't left Sevastopol since, so the damage was extensive. For all intents and purposes, this is out of action. Hit again in 2026. The Konstantin Oleshki. This one was captured from Ukraine in 2014, and there were reports that Russia was planning to use its superstructure and parts to repair the Minsk. It was hit in the same attack that hit the Yamal and the Arzov. May not have been seaworthy anyway, as I don't think it had left Sevastopol at all since being captured, but certainly can't be used to restore the Minsk now, I don't think. The Pavel Dozarvin, a Project 2216 patrol boat. This was hit by a marine drone planted mine in 2023 and spent months in dry dock. The Sergei Kotov, another 22160, sunk by marine drones. The Samum, a small missile corvette, damaged by a mine and since back into service. And the Unknown Borer, hit by drones and damaged extensively about a week or so ago. The Cyclone, a Karakurt-class corvette destroyed by attackers in Sevastopol. The Askold, damaged extensively by Storm Shadow and given a new asshole. Outright destroyed, I think. I don't think this one can be repaired. The Tuchus, damaged this year in the Caspian Sea, not sure how badly. An unknown Karakurt, damaged in the Baltic. The Tuchus, damaged this year in the Caspian Sea, I believe this is the one which we saw on satellite imagery, which had its radome completely destroyed and many other key elements. So it's unknown whether this one may actually be out of action permanently because it's going to be very tricky for Russia to repair it. But no doubt it's going to be out of action for a while. This one was hit hard. Unknown carrier damaged in the Baltic. Unknown how badly. A Natyr-class minesweeper, the Valentin Pekel, damaged by a drone in 2026 with moderate damage. The Ivanovets, a Tarantul sunk by marine drones in 2024. An unknown Grachnok-class marks as damaged here, but likely sunk as casualties were high, and it hasn't appeared on satellite imagery or been tracked since. This was sunk by a marine drone. Then two Cerner-class landing craft shown as damaged, but one was destroyed near Snake Island. An Ondarcha-class landing craft sunk by marine drones. 3 BK-16 fast patrol boats are shown as sunk, 2 shown as damaged. The numbers are on the low side, as I've done 6 videos covering strikes on the BK-16s, so the true number of these is higher than shown on this graphic. And this also doesn't include the Raptor, similar to the BK-16 but a different ship altogether. At least 6 damaged and destroyed so far. And at the bottom, we have the Rostov destroyed and the unknown Kilo damaged. A Slavov command ship damaged by drones. The Kommuna, a salvage ship, damaged very slightly. This was minor damage here. The Spasatel Legion damaged minor. The Ivan Kurz intelligence ship. This was damaged by a marine drone causing minor damage, but was then hit by a storm shadow at a later date. Since the storm shadow hit, this hasn't left Sevastopol since, so damage was extensive. After that strike, it almost capsized and had to be propped up by a neighbouring ship. Then, an armed tug, the Spasatel Vasily Beck, destroyed by a harpoon. And this list also doesn't feature a Boikiy Corvette destroyed in the Caspian about a week ago, so add one more here. Nor does it include 3 Project 05060 fast patrol boats destroyed in Crimea in early May. And it also doesn't include the Coast Guard ships, such as the Sobol patrol boat, which was destroyed by marine drones, the 3 hovercraft destroyed and damaged by Flamingo, or the 3 large patrol vessels of the Coast Guard, hit by marine drones. And there's also some tugs which have been hit as well by Ukraine, which again aren't listed on here. I guess we can't really put them as destroyed, but certainly many of them took a direct hit with a marine drone and will be damaged. And in the Storm Shadow strike that sunk the Steregushchy-class, you might remember that the explosion also sunk a nearby static training boat of Russia's, I believe used for diver training. That one sunk as well. So that's a lot of ships hit, many of them destroyed, sunk, or damaged so extensively that they might not even be able to be repaired, or at least will take considerable time to repair. Now, before we finish, I'm going to mention a fundraiser which we're doing here for Val. So Val is a Ukrainian soldier working in logistics, and in Kharkiv, he saw a couple of Sukhoi trucks with a logo on them from Cars for Ukraine or NATO fundraisers, and got in touch about doing a fundraiser as well for his unit to buy a van for logistics and for shipping supplies to the front line. His donation link is in the description, and he gave me an update saying over $500 has been raised so far. And he says he really appreciates not only the donations, but messages from people who transferred them. He says it's really good to hear that so many people are supporting Ukraine across the world. So, hope you found this video interesting. If so, please click like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Thanks so much, and take care, everybody.